This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/Mapper Forward to find out how you can become a member today. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I am your host, Lee Safar, and we are on episode 2 of a 5-part series with the fabulous Diego Baraona. Hello, Diego.
Hello, Lee.
We are today talking about the challenges that El Salvadorian coffee producers have faced over the past couple of years. It's been smooth sailing for you guys over the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Really, really bumpy road. Very bumpy.
So tell me, what has it been like to navigate your way through a pandemic and nightmare logistical issues, currency fluctuations, Bitcoin introduction into your currency with nobody having any idea what to do with it or how to manage it, because that was really smoothly introduced. Like,
I'm a metaphor for that. I feel like Bitcoin was put into this country just when your mother or father took you to a play date they didn't want to go, and you're like, "Hey, here, play." That's why it's Bitcoin.
Go play. Go make friends.
But you're like, but I don't know this, that's what the whole country feels like. We don't know this. Like, what do we do with it? So that's the issue.
So it was forced upon you, and as expected, literally nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Nobody's using it.
Nobody's.
It was super anticlimactic because it actually drove the price of Bitcoin up when it was announced. Yeah. Because look, somebody's using it for something functional.
But I feel the world was like watching us with popcorn, like, let's see what happens.
Oh yeah. And like, that's just another part. Like, I hold Bitcoin and I hold Ethereum, and it's been super interesting watching people react to the volatility of it. But volatility seems to be the word of the 20s. Doesn't it? Like, everything's just getting more and more volatile.
Yeah.
So
everything.
What have the last couple of years presented with regards to challenges for you guys?
Where do we start? I mean, COVID, for example, COVID just brought this wave of big problems. Logistics, like you were saying, mainly, like for us farmers and / exporters, it's really hard to export now. It's really hard to get bookings. It's super expensive. Prices are doubled, tripled. We need more money up front to finance everything. So that's really, like, for us, like I also had a lot of debt in inherited. So it's hard to manage those debts plus getting on top more and more costs. So it's been really hard, and I've learned a lot also, budgeting and being smarter, simple, like we're saying, low key, try to handle, because we've been thrown more and more costs on top of something that's already really, really expensive to maintain and produce, on top of climate change.
Have you found that that businesses on the consuming end, have you found that they are understanding of the challenge? No. For anyone who's listening, he's shaking his head.
No.
No.
I mean, and I don't blame them. I mean, I don't have a grudge against them. I get it, because it's a really I think we talk about this at the town hall. Coffee has a marketing problem, and part of the marketing it's showcasing this issues.
Yep. I mean, the word for me, a lot of what I've been observing this year is that the word responsible is something that people are, if they don't adopt quickly, they're going to be crushed under what's happening right now as a result of the past couple of years. So being fiscally responsible, being responsible with the way that you lead, being responsible with your forecasting, being responsible with a whole bunch of things is going to be, in my, for whatever it's worth, in my opinion, is going to be a determinant factor of who survives this challenging time.
That's where it's like one of the key factors. I mean, it's not producing amazing coffee, it's not producing best quality processing. It's how well you manage your finances. That's going to be a really, really, I mean, it is, and it's going to be a really important factor in these coming years for producers.
Tell me, when we look at the difference between, and we recently spoke to Carlos Arcila from CoffeeNet, and we were talking about the difference between commodity and specialty.
Yeah.
Where does that sit for El Salvadorian coffee producers? Because there's been such a fluctuation with the commodity price, less so with specialty. How is that going to impact the choices that producers make with regards to their crops in the future based on being fiscally responsible?
It's a double-edged thing to say. I mean, because yeah, the seed price is really up, it's up the roof, perfect, but like costs are also up the roof. So like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And like we've seen that when coffee price goes up, everything else goes up. So like it's, yeah, so in my opinion, it's the same thing. And for us, special quality coffees are not changed so much. Prices maybe have gone up by like 50 cents at most, but like yes, they stay kind of the same. While the cost of like I would say the costs are not comprehensive. Like they're not like coherent to the way the prices have changed.
With that though, we see consumers becoming price sensitive. We see businesses who, most of the businesses that I speak to don't know how to read a profit and loss statement. They don't understand how to read their profitability.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem with regards to consuming ends. And I know producers are a lot of producers are in the same situation.
Yes,
as excuse me. So as people become more price sensitive and businesses are forced to become more fiscally responsible and start to learn about their balance sheets and their income statements or profit and loss statements, you guys being focused on quality and higher end specialty coffee, are you nervous about where you'll fit into the market as businesses decide that perhaps they have to buy cheaper coffees?
That's a good question, and I hadn't even thought about it. No,
honestly, I hate to have. I just thought about it as we were talking about it then, and because you hear importers talk about like what people are buying, and you hear cafe owners say, and I keep saying to them, don't cut your cogs, increase your prices. If there's ever been a time to increase your prices, it's now. Increase your prices, which increases your revenue. It means you're not fucking over the supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So is this something that you've thought about?
A little bit. And that's what I've thinking this year when I'm pricing my coffees this year. I'm like, okay, how am I going to go about it? What's a fair price increase for me?
Yep.
And for my, let's say, importers, direct coffee shops, because it's, and I had some trouble because I was like, how should I handle this conversation with clients? Hey, because I also have some fiscal duties, I have a lot of expenses coming up. How can I make it keep going on being profitable? So I've also been trying, in terms of processing, I've been trying to be more simple nowadays. I've been trying to get my dad's vision, but like more simple with less cost, because I don't want my cost per pound to elevate too much, because that'll be a big problem. So I'm in this like in limbo between those issues right now.
Yeah,
quality.
It seems to be a time for simplification.
Yeah.
In preparation for being responsible into the future, because as we said, we don't see the end of this. Like I can't get a feel for when whatever this abyss is that we're going into, when it ends.
Yeah.
And so this is a time to kind of like, all right, I'm going to simplify. I'm going to cut the fat from what we're doing and try and be sustainable, given like all the uncertainty of climate shifting, all the uncertainty of, freight. Look at what's happening in China. I heard the other day that there are 2,000 ships off the port of Beijing. I'm like, that can't be real. That can't be real.
Yeah.
But, they're compounding logistical issues that then end up weighing heavily on your business as well, right?
Yeah, and another reason, and actually an issue that we are, like today we had an issue, like if we don't export, because it takes a long time to get a container, a ship to export, we don't get paid.
Yep.
It's taking much longer to get paid, and we cannot absorb being not paid for 2 months, 3 months. It's a long time. We don't have the luxury to wait. Oh, I think we're gonna export it in a month. No, we have a really, really strict deadline for banks, for loans, all that. So it's a really hard time to control and to schedule your finances. It's really, really tricky.
And agricultural loans are the most expensive in the world.
Yeah, banks. But banks are the worst.
I've spent the last 6 years trying to figure out who makes all the money in the coffee supply chain. And unfortunately, we've isolated it to two places: the banks and landlords.
Yep.
So the banks on the producing end of the supply chain, the back end of the supply chain, and the landlords on the consuming end of the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of heartbreaking that we go through all of this rigorous work and hundreds of people are involved in making this happen, and it's not even our supply chain that is the big winner from our efforts. It's the banks and the landlords.
Yeah.
Just quickly before we wrap up this issue, there's one other challenge that I wanted to ask you about, and that's with regards to defaulting contracts.
Yeah.
Has that been something that has been widespread in El Salvador? Has that been a challenge for producers?
I'm not really sure if it is, but it's really likely. I mean, I've asked some issues, to be honest. I've had some issues like not fulfilling the amount, let's say. So it's all because of climate change, yields gone down for us, So it's a reality. I've been through it, and I'm pretty sure people have been through it.
Yeah, it's it was complicated before. Coffee is a complex agricultural product, which is hugely underappreciated on the consuming end.
Yeah.
It's just gotten a lot more challenging over the past couple of years.
Really hard.
But with that came innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the next episode, we're going to take a look at the innovation that has come out of El Salvador with regards to coffee producing. Let's do that. Perfect. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.